Baseball, or America's pastime as many would call it, is one game we all love so much, thanks to its entertainment value, competitive nature, and all the joy it brings. But then, if we're being honest, this game has also seen its fair share of controversies. Plus, these controversies, spanning both on-field and off-field issues, have all left their marks on Major League Baseball's history. Any true fan of the sport would agree that there have always been scandalous incidents at various times in its history, perhaps even more than any other professional sport. From times when players were overrun by emotions and decided to take the game into their own hands, to times when fans interfered with live balls and sparked national debates, to even times when players attempted to bend the rules and cheat the system, this beautiful game has seen it all. Now, fasten your seatbelt and let's dive into some of the biggest controversies that have rocked the world of baseball. Rest assured that some of these outrageous occurrences will totally drop your jaw. Number 6. Jeffrey Maier and the Derek Jeter home run. On the fateful day that was October 9, 1996, a baseball moment that would become etched in history for all time unfolded. The stage was set at Yankee Stadium as the New York Yankees faced off against the Baltimore Orioles in what can only be best described as one of the most controversial games in Major League Baseball history. In the bottom of the 8th inning, with the Yankees trailing 4-3, the spotlight turned to shortstop Derek Jeter, who swung his bat and sent a soaring fly ball to right field. As you'd expect, Tony Tarasco, who was the Orioles' right fielder, positioned himself near the fence, ready to make a play. However, fate had a different plan. Now enter young Jeffrey Maier, a 12-year-old baseball enthusiast seated in the stands, just like every other casual fan. But then, what he would do next isn't in any way casual. With excitement, Maier leaned over the fence, stretched out his glove, and in a heart-stopping instant, caught the ball before it could reach Tarasco's grasp. Of course, the stadium erupted with cheers, but all the cheers weren't as loud as the frustration that was boldly written all over Tony Tarasco's face, as he immediately began protesting that the fan had interfered with a live ball. The rules of baseball are clear. Spectators must not interfere with a live ball. But then, umpire Rich Garcia, who was stationed in right field, made a split-second call. He ruled it a home run, tying the game at 4-4. Tarasco and Orioles manager Davey Johnson protested vehemently, but their pleas were brushed aside. Well, that's not all. The Orioles officially protested the play, but the decision rested with American League President Gene Buddig, who explained that judgment calls like these cannot be protested. However, umpire Garcia would later admit that Maier's action constituted spectator interference. As if to add insult to injury, the Yankees emerged victorious in that game, thanks to Bernie Williams' walk-off home run in the 11th inning. The Yankees would also ultimately win the series against the Orioles and claim the World Series title against the Atlanta Braves. But then, that incident had lasting repercussions beyond the game, sparking debates and various opinions from fans and analysts across the baseball world. Amidst all these, young Maier found himself thrust into the spotlight. His moment of baseball passion turned him into a minor celebrity. It was so much that, during the postseason, the New York Daily News granted him a seat behind the Yankee dugout. For their part, the Yankees responded to the whole controversy by adding a protective railing behind the right field wall to prevent fans from reaching over it. Number 5. Steve Bartman's foul. The Steve Bartman incident remains one of the most controversial moments in baseball history today. It all unfolded on October 14, 2003, during Game 6 of the National League Championship Series between the Chicago Cubs and the Florida Marlins at the iconic Wrigley Field in Chicago. In this critical postseason clash, the Chicago Cubs were close to breaking their decades-long championship drought, and Cubs pitcher Mark Prior had been dominating on the mound, allowing no runs and only 3 hits as they led the game 3-0. Obviously, the Cubs were on the verge of reaching the World Series, a feat they hadn't achieved since 1945. Not just that, they were also close to ending a championship drought dating back to 1908. With 1 out and a full count, Luis Castillo of the Marlins was at bat, with teammate Juan Prior stationed on second base. The tension was so high in the stadium, you could cut it with a knife. Then, in this brief moment that will always haunt Cubs fans and baseball enthusiasts everywhere occurred. A pop foul ball off Castillo's bat sailed toward the left field corner, and it so happened that a fan named Steve Bartman found himself in the front row, close to the on-field bullpen. He, along with other fans, reached out to catch the ball. But the ball eluded Bartman's grasp and was deflected away from the outstretched glove of Cubs left fielder Moises Alou. Alou's frustration was evident as he slammed his glove in the heat of the moment and expressed his displeasure toward the fans. Both Alou and Prior were convinced that Bartman's interference affected the play. They pleaded for fan interference, but umpire Mike Everett ruled otherwise. According to the umpire, the ball had crossed the boundary separating the field from the stands already, making it a legal play. But it seemed like this explanation didn't go down well with many people. Interestingly, Cubs manager Dusty Baker could not witness the incident firsthand due to the obstructed view resulting from the curvature of the dugout. However, this single ruling by Everett has been a subject of intense scrutiny ever since. Some argue that photographs show Bartman's arms extending into the field, suggesting Castillo should have been declared out due to fan interference. Number 4. Pedro Martinez's confrontation with Don Zimmer. The intense rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees is legendary in baseball. When these bitter rivals clash, emotions run high, and the atmosphere is always electric. This tension reached its boiling point on October 11, 2003, during Game 3 of the American League Championship Series between the two storied teams. In this high-stakes matchup, the stakes were raised even further. Pedro Martinez, a formidable pitcher for the Red Sox, added fuel to the fire by throwing a high and tight pitch toward New York Yankee Karim Garcia during the 4th inning. Martinez's pitch came dangerously close to Garcia, and he followed it up with some choice words and gestures directed toward the Yankees' dugout. This situation escalated when Yankees ace Roger Clemens retaliated in the next half inning. Clemens threw a pitch near Manny Ramirez, who was a star player for the Red Sox. This aggressive move ignited a full-scale brawl between the two fierce rivals. Players rushed onto the field, tempers flared, and chaos ensued. But then, the most memorable moment of the brawl involved Don Zimmer, a respected coach for the Yankees at the age of 72. In a surprising turn of events, Zimmer charged at Pedro Martinez, and just as if it were a WWE matchup, the star pitcher responded by placing his hands around Zimmer's head and gently pushing him to the ground, where he landed with a thud. Following this brief but intense brawl, fines were doled out to those involved in the altercation. Pedro Martinez received a hefty fine of $50,000, reflecting the severity of his role in the incident. Manny Ramirez, who was another key player for the Red Sox, was fined $25,000. Karim Garcia and Don Zimmer were also fined on the Yankee side, with Garcia facing a $10,000 fine and Zimmer a $5,000 penalty. Number 3. A midges game. It would seem insects are also interested in baseball, as some Lake Erie midges made a memorable appearance in Cleveland sports in 2007 during a crucial baseball game. Funny enough, they didn't just make an appearance but left a lasting impact on the match's outcome and the series as a whole. This incident took place during Game 2 of the American League Division Series. During the game, a swarm of these tiny insects descended upon the playing field and, more notably, around New York Yankees reliever Jabba Chamberlain, who was on the mound. Of course, the presence of these midges became a significant factor in the game's turning point. To combat the bothersome bugs, Chamberlain applied bug spray to keep them at bay. However, this decision ended up having an unexpected consequence. The bug spray made his grip on the ball slippery, causing him to throw a wild pitch, which allowed the Cleveland Indians to score and tie the game 1-1 in the 8th inning. Sadly, the Yankees struggled to regain control as the midges continued to disrupt the game. The Indians eventually emerged victorious in the 11th inning, securing a win in a game that might have ended with a different result if not for the intrusion of these tiny insects. No doubt, the impact of the Lake Erie midges on this pivotal playoff game was undeniable, and it would go on to haunt the Yankees. They lost the best-of-5 series in 4 games, and the incident left a mark on the memory of both players and fans. In hindsight, Yankees manager Joe Torre would later regret not addressing the situation immediately. According to him, he would have stalled the game or pulled his team off the field temporarily while the swarming midges surrounded Chamberlain. Number 2. The Astros cheating. Looking at the Houston Astros' path to the 2022 World Series, one cannot help but remember their controversial victory against the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2017. And of course, while their Commissioner's Trophy win solidified their success, the team's alleged unethical tactics during the 2017 and parts of the 2018 seasons might just continue to cast a shadow over their integrity. The Astros' camera cheating strategy was at the heart of this issue, and it all began in the early days of the 2017 season. Oh, and this was the very season they clinched the World Series title. Their approach involved having a designated runner who would relay information from the video replay room to the dugout. This information would then be shared with the players to alert them about the opposing catcher's signals. Former Astros bench coach Alex Cora played a pivotal role in this scheme. According to the MLB's comprehensive investigation report, Cora started calling the replay review room using the designated replay phone to access sign information. Additionally, the Astros took advantage of modern technology by transmitting sign sequences through text messages to staff members on the bench using cell phones and smartwatches. Of course, this didn't go down well with opposition teams and fans when it was discovered, and it is little wonder why it seems like these other teams are still bearing grudges about the incident today. Number 1. The Clemens and Piazza bust. During the 1990s, Roger Clemens and Mike Piazza faced each other every once in a while due to interleague play despite playing in different leagues. These matchups resulted in Piazza achieving a 5-for-9 record against Clemens, including hitting 2 home runs off of him. Fast forward to July 2000, when Clemens was pitching for the New York Yankees and Piazza was with the New York Mets. The two teams met, and Clemens seemed intent on pitching Piazza inside. However, something extraordinary would soon happen. The pivotal moment that sparked a lot of controversy occurred when Clemens threw a fastball that came dangerously close to hitting Piazza in the head. Well, the true intent behind that pitch remains a topic of debate to this day, even though it has been 2 decades. As fate would have it, the Yankees and Mets faced off again in the 2000 World Series, reigniting the tension between Clemens and Piazza. In Game 2 of the series, Clemens broke Piazza's bat with a foul ball, and to add more fuel to the fire, he threw a piece of the shattered bat in Piazza's direction. While this incident didn't escalate into the anticipated brawl, Piazza later revealed that he had already learned some karate moves to prepare for such an occasion. Does this mean that fans would have gotten an extra karate show for their ticket price? Well, who knows? Of course, the incident left the Mets infuriated, and even Piazza himself was outraged. In his 2014 autobiography, Piazza recounted Clemens' attempt to apologize by calling the Mets clubhouse. Piazza himself responded straightforwardly and cursed out, "Tell him to go F himself."